Well, if that's where your X is, sometimes your X or your N is on the right side. Okay. Alright. And I would, you need to take your time, just a little bit more, write these things out, because sometimes I can't tell you pluses and minuses.
Okay, guys, on this warm up. Okay, what can I combine on the left side here, Griffin?
6n and -4.
What's 6 minus? I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's 6n minus n, so it would just be 5n.
Okay, so the left side simplifies to this. Whoops. All right. Now, distributing the 5, 6 here. Think of it, 5, 6 times -6 over 1. Don't the 6's cancel? Right? What are you left with?
-5.
-5. M. Okay. And then what's 5, 6 times, what is that, 150? What's 150 divided by 6? What'd you guys get for that?
-25.
-25?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right, now, what happens here? What's next? What's next for me? Mason, what are you thinking? What's the smaller guy?
-5.
Yeah, so what do you want to do?
Plus 5 on each side.
Yep. Add 5m to both sides. Okay, so what happens?
You get 10m. And bring down the +4.
Equals.
-25.
Yeah, I think some of you guys are doing this, checking the homework, guys. On a problem like this, you're just bringing down 25. What kind of 25 is it? Yeah, guys, if you lose your sign like that, it's going to jack the problem up. Okay, it's going to be wrong. Okay, you don't have a chance to be right if you lose the sign. Okay, what do you got?
-4 on each side.
Okay. So what do we got? 10m?
Yeah, 10m equals -21. -29.
Yes. And we're going to get a decimal here, right, guys? Divide by 10. Now, you guys shouldn't need a calculator when you divide by 10. Just slide the decimal one to the left, right? What do we get? Yeah, Griffin.
N equals -2.9.
Whoa. All right. Okay, we got to distribute both sides here. Ryan, why don't you distribute the left side for me?
I got. Do you want me to just tell you what?
Yeah, tell me what you got.
I got 6a minus 6.
I like it. I like it. And tell me what you got when you distributed the right side. Tell me what you got when you distributed over here.
4a.
Minus 8. Okay, what's my next step? Rylan, what do you think? What's my next step? What's the little guy? Okay, first of all, I simplified both sides, right? So I'm ready to get my A's together. What are you thinking, Rylan?
Subtract 4a.
Yeah, I would too. Subtract 4a. Cancels over here. What do you got?
2a.
Go ahead.
-6 equals -8.
Yeah, don't forget that negative. Go ahead. Keep going.
Add 6 to both sides. And I got -2.
Yes, ma'am. Finish it off, Rylan.
Divide by 2 on both sides.
Yep.
And I got -1.
Nice job.
Hey, I was wrong. I thought one of those would be no solution or real numbers. I was mistaken. They both had an answer for that. All right. Any questions on the worksheet for Mr. Parker? Okay, I know you checked it over, but what can we go over to make sure we get this
Is there any ones you guys want to go over on the homework? Hopefully, guys, you're seeing the mistakes you're making. And if you're not, you have to ask us, okay? Because these equations, guys, are not going away. They're going to be with us for the year and next year in geometry, algebra 2. This is important stuff.
This is a big foundation.
Big.
All right. You want to pass those out? Just to those people.
Gotcha.
And then I'll pick up these. All right, Mr. Parker is passing out some guys' notes to people I didn't get to. Thank you.
You got it, right? You got it.
Keep the homework, right? You don't have to.
Keep the homework. Keep the homework. We're gonna keep that homework.
I'll get this back to you. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll get them back to you. No, thank you, sir. Yep. I'll give these over.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, I sent you a new. I just jacked up a little bit. I just changed the order. A couple things.
Okay.
I sent you a new file. I just written. Okay. All right. All right. 1-6. We're going to get 1-6 and then 1-7. We had talked about a test on Tuesday, but we're running into a couple issues, and so what we want to do is we're going to push it to next Thursday. Wednesday is a late start day, so that's not a good day to do a test. So we're going to push it to Thursday. We got to do a couple things here with absolute value, and then with solving for a variable. And it's just going to be, I think, better off. I want to make sure everybody's prepared. All right, absolute value. We're going to deal with those with equations, but first of all, you got to know what absolute value is. All right, hopefully you remember it. And they talk about it as a distance from zero on a number line. Absolute value is always what? Zero. It's always positive. So in the end, your absolute value is always positive, never be negative. You talk about a distance is always a positive value. How far away is -5 from 0? It is 5 units. 5 is also 5 units away from that. So the absolute value of a negative will always become positive. The absolute value of a positive stays positive. You can still do this. You can still say the absolute value of 4. You're allowed to do that. That's just what? Just 4. Just becomes a 4. Absolute value of -3. That's +3. All right. So now we just want to make sure we're okay on a couple of these quick things right here at the top. So you see where it says example 1? All right, absolute value -5. That's going to be what? That's going to be 5. Okay. Now these others, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. You got to read where the absolute values bars are and what's going on. Absolute value of 8. Let's take the absolute values first. And when you take the absolute value, you drop the bars. Absolute value of 8 is what? 8. This minus is not in an absolute value. That has to come down. What's the absolute value of -10? 10, right? So this becomes 8 minus 10. What's the answer to that? -2. That answer has to be a negative. You're not taking the absolute value of that. So it's okay in the end to have a negative answer. Okay, the absolute value, though, will become a positive. All right, you take a look at C. Think about that one. So for C, on the inside, first of all, like the absolute values are like a set of parentheses. We need to do everything inside of there and get it down to one number. What is 3 times -4? Okay, just good old-fashioned 3 times -4, right?
-12.
-12. So now I get this negative's on the outside, that stays there. This becomes the absolute value of -12. What's the absolute value of -12? 12. That negative is still on the outside. Should that go away? No, it has to stay there. So my final answer is going to be what? -12. Okay? Because that negative is outside that absolute value bar. You got to watch that. Everything on the inside, though, that piece will become a +12. That negative comes down. Absolute value -5 is 5. So you got to know that. All right, now we're going to throw some equations in here. An absolute value equation is an equation that contains an absolute value expression. Duh. Okay? You can solve these types of equations by solving two related linear equations, and I'll explain what's going on here. So you got this. The absolute value of x equals 3. What makes that true? What values make that true? Well, there's actually two values. Okay? There's two values. It's going to be 3 or negative 3. Because what's the absolute value of 3? The absolute value of 3 is 3. What's the absolute value of negative 3? It's also 3. This has two answers. Negative 3 is an answer, and 3 is an answer. Okay? So now, as you take a look at that second example, the absolute value of x equals 4. What are my answers going to be? What will make that true? All right. Let's see if we're making any sense here. Gavin, what do you think? There's really no work to do. Just got to recognize it. Can you give me a number whose absolute value is 4? I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with door.
4.
Yeah. All right. So the absolute value of 4 works, but there's another number that has an absolute value of 4. And it rhymes with negative door.
-4.
Yeah. You got it. So right here.
You're like a rhyme master.
I am the rhyme master. It's my old rap battle days. It's been a while.
You SoundCloud probably. No. You should be.
So x equals 4 and x equals negative 4, because they're both, because you know the absolute value of 4 is 4, you know the absolute value of negative 4 is 4. So those are your two answers. Now you got to be careful here. It says the absolute value of x equals negative 7. Whoa. Okay. Anybody want to take a stab at this? First of all, what's the absolute value of 7 equal? What's that equal? Equals 7, right? Absolute value is always positive. Absolute value of negative 7 equals what? 7. Can you ever come up with the absolute value of something that equals a negative number? No. No solution. This will not work. You cannot. So if you have the absolute value equals a negative, you have the absolute value equals a negative, won't work. You gotta be no solution. Okay, for that. So you gotta watch it. Now let's get crazy.
Crazy.
Absolute value of x plus 9 equals 13. Now here's how we're going to do these type of problems. If the inside equals 13 or negative 13, that'll make it true. So here's how we solve it. We're going to do two cases. The first case is you're going to drop the absolute value bars and you're just going to put x plus 9 equals 13. You're going to do that. You're going to do a second case. Draw two arrows. Draw it exactly like I got it on there. And now the second case is this will still be true if whatever's inside the absolute value equals negative 13. That'll still be true. Now I got two different equations. I solved them separately. Okay? And they will give me two different answers. So for the first one, all I have to do is subtract 9. And I get x equals 4. Now let's stop for a second. Does this work? Plug it back up into here mentally. What is 4 plus 9? What's the absolute value of 13? 13. So that we know that one works. Over here, what do I get? Subtract 9, but I'm taking negative 13 minus 9, and what is that? That is, what is it?
Negative 22.
Negative 22. Now I'm going to test this one. What's negative 22 plus 9? Negative 22 plus 9 is negative 13. What's the absolute value of negative 13? Positive 13. So that works. So my two answers. Now here's how you write your answers when you have more than one. These are called braces. So you kind of make a little half parenthesis, make a little carrot nose, another half parenthesis. And I put in, and we put these in order, negative 22, comma 4. So like from lowest to highest. And then you make a little parenthesis, caret nose, parenthesis. Okay. You don't want to do this because that's an ordered pair. Like from graphing, that's a point on a plane. So it's different. This says, all right, I got two answers, negative 2 and 4 for my two answers. Okay. All right, so we're going to do the exact same thing. Same idea here. I got the absolute value equals 22. So as long as my absolute value is by itself, you're going to do two cases. The first case, take 2x minus 4 equals 22. In the second case, take 2x minus 4 equals negative 22. And when we do that, you no longer have absolute value bars. Okay, you drop them. We're done with those. And then we figure out how you solve them individually. So the first one over here on the left, I'm going to add 4. And I get 2x equals 26 divide by 2, x equals 13. All right, explain to me why that one's right. Explain to me why that one's right. Zach?
Because if you plug in 13, 2 times, or 13 times 2 is 26.
Okay.
And then minus 4, 20, or 26 minus 4 is 22.
Yep, so 26 minus 4 gives me 22. The absolute value of that is 22. So boom, got it right. All right, second one here. Now don't forget, we made this a negative 22. So when I add 4, I get 2x equals negative 18. Get negative 18, divide by 2, and I get x equals, I got negative 9. All right, Maddie, explain to me why that's right.
Right, then?
Yep.
Because if you plug negative 9 in, you do 2 times negative 9 minus 4, you get negative 22, and the absolute value of negative 22 is 22.
All right, I like how you explain it. Good. Yep, 2 times negative 9 will be negative 18 minus 4 gives us that negative 22. All right, so good. So you're going to get those two cases when we got absolute values. Now, if you just got absolute value of x equals 4, life's easy. You say, oh, 4, negative 4. Done. If it equals a negative, crap, can't do it. No answer. So now, where are we at? On the back?
Yep.
All right, flip it over to the back. Flip it over to the back. Okay, so now we got to be careful here. Before you split it into two cases, you have to get the absolute value by itself first. If you don't, you'll get it wrong. Okay? Is the absolute value by itself on one side of the equal sign? That's what we're going to do. I'm going to say no. Why not? So look here. Let me just, if I draw my line down the middle, I draw my fence. Is it just the absolute value over there? What else is over there? Plus 4. You got to get rid of that first. And how do we get rid of it? When I say get rid of it, we got to move it to the other side. What do I do to move it to the other side? Subtract 4. So we got to do that first. Now I'm not breaking this apart yet into two cases. So I keep my absolute value around the x minus 1. And 7 minus 4 is 3. All right, now is my absolute value by itself. Yep, so what do I do now? Split into the two cases. One of them equals 3. The other equals what? Negative 3. So now I split it into two cases. And this becomes x minus 1 equals 3. X minus 1 equals negative 3. And so I solve. Now this one's not bad. I just have to add 1 on each side. And I get x equals 4. And then I add 1 on both sides. And I get x equals negative 2. Oh, I forgot to on my last one, I got to do my fancy braces. And I put negative 2, 4. And if I plug in up here 4, 4 minus 1 is 3. The absolute value of 3 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. Negative 2 minus 1. That's what? Negative 3. What's the absolute value of negative 3?
3.
Positive 3. I still get 7. It's got to work. We do everything right. You got to be able to check it. You got to see if it works. All right. Does that match with what you got there?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, all right. What do you think to do first? If we take Diana. Look at that. Any ideas?
You have to subtract 8.
Subtract 8. All right. And now tell me what to write. Alex, tell me what to write.
X plus 2.
Always start on the left to right. There. What's that give me?
Negative 3
Negative 3. And then what goes here?
equals X plus 2.
Make sure you say absolute value of X plus 2. All right. Do you agree with that? All right. Now stop. We're done. Why?
Because it's a negative and absolute value cannot be a negative.
Absolute value cannot ever be a negative. So we're done. We're not. We got to put something down. What's my answer? No solution. Very good. No solution. So you got to stop. You just can't go through here mindlessly and then you just keep going and break it into two cases because it'll give you two answers, but when you go to check them, they will not work. So no solution. Sometimes you'll see no solution written as this is called the empty set. So I just want to make sure you see that. No solution for that. So you got to be careful there. All right, C. Okay. All right, a little bit different. We got to be able to handle this. How do I get the absolute value by itself? In this case here.
Divide by 3 on each side.
Yes, you would. Good, because this 3 is multiplying. There's no plus in between there or a minus. Or the other two, you have plus or minus. So the only way to do that is divide by 3. And so now I get the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 12 divided by 3 equals 4. All right, absolute value is by itself. Does it equal positive? Yep. Split it into what? Two cases. Split it into two cases. So now that gives me x plus 2 equals 4. X plus 2 equals negative 4. Okay, only split into the two cases if it equals a positive. Solve those individually. And I get subtract. I want to subtract 2. And I get x equals 2. Subtract 2. X equals negative 6. And then that's going to give me x equals, I'm always going to put the smaller one first, negative 6, and then positive 2 for that one. Just two answers. Here's why it works. Let me just test the negative. Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. What's the absolute value of negative 4? It's going to be positive 4. 3 times 4 is 12. All right, now this one has kind of about everything in it. This D. Mason?
Plus, it's on each side.
Okay, all right, good. Because you got a couple options here. You got this 2 out in front, and then you got this minus 6. We want to, just like in an equation, if you think of this whole thing as a variable, add or subtract first. Add or subtract first. So like what Mason said is I want to add 6 over here. I want to add 6 over here. And that's going to be 2 times x minus 3 equals 10. All right. Now what?
Divide by 2 on each side.
Yep, divide by 2. So I divide by 2, I divide by 2. I get x minus 3. Absolute value of x minus 3 equals 5. Okay, the absolute value is by itself. Does it equal positive? Split into two cases. Set it equal to 5, set it equal to negative 5. And those will give us our two answers at the top. I'm just going to go through it, Mason. So I get x minus 3 equals 5. I get x minus 3 equals negative 5. And so I add 3. And I get x equals 8. I'm going to add 3. And I get x equals negative 2. All right, we should be able to check this pretty easily. If I plug in 8, 8 minus 3 is 5. Absolute value of 5 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. Negative 2 minus 3 is what? Negative 5. Absolute value of that is 5. And so it still works.
Doesn't matter which order it goes in.
No, I'm not going to be too concerned about that. Technically, though, like the math gods would want you to put the smaller one first. Okay, we're not going to be that picky. Okay, for that one. All right, that E, I think that's your last one. Make sure you fill in the missing piece. What's missing on yours? Make sure it equals negative 6. Oh, this is a good one here.
Let's go.
Good one. All right, gotta get the absolute value. Diana, what do you think I should do first?
Add 6 to both sides.
Good. I'm going to add 6, which is actually this 6 here. What does that give me? What does that give me? Okay, Mason? What's that? Gives me a 0, but what do I write over here? I still put my absolute value of x minus 4 equals 0. Is that a negative? No, still going to work. Now, we've always done up here, if it was a positive number, we broke it down into positive 5 and negative 5. Does it make sense to break it into positive 0 and negative 0? No, so here's all you do is you just figure out what makes it equal 0. You just drop the absolute value bars and you only have one equation. And so I add 4 to both sides and you get x equals positive 4. It doesn't make sense to do a positive 0 and a negative 0. There's no such thing as negative 0. Okay, it's just 0. So you get one answer. So when I plug it up here, 4 minus 4 actually is 0, and you're left with negative 6 equals negative 6. So you can get one answer. You get one answer when that equals what? 0. You can get no answers. When do we get no answers? When it equals a negative, and we get 2 answers when it equals a positive. Okay. There's your homework. We don't have time today, but we got to show you some of the tricks that are on the online book. How many people use the online book or use that to? Okay. We got to show you some of the tricks that are on there at some point. Not that you have to at this point, but they do have some useful things. All right, 2 through 22 even. It tells you to graph it. You don't have to graph it. Like you don't have to plot anything. Just do it exactly like we did in class. Okay, exactly like we did. We'll start the last section tomorrow, and then we will kind of go through some things tomorrow. Tomorrow, Friday.
Picture of that.
Can't you write it down?
Yeah, but
Yeah, write it down. Sheesh. Because we're going to start putting our phones up there. I don't know if that's tomorrow. We'll do that. Tomorrow, Friday. Hey, tomorrow, Friday, we'll start putting our phones in the caddy up here. I just got to tell you what numbers to put them in. Make sure we get everything in order. He comes back. It's like then he went on vacation on Vegas, right? I'll see them all. Yeah, thanks.